Yeah, so the laptop itself becomes, it's just a computer with a camera and some other devices on it, and you can plug in different kinds of things. So in the early days, we saw, so one of the applications on here, the activity is called Measure, where you can turn it on, plug in a microphone, or just use the microphone here and look at sound waves, and then you can plug in different kinds of electronics to make it into a light sensor and measure pH, measure voltage, all kinds of things. So the whole idea was that it sort of becomes a little science lab in a box. So that was one approach. There's a project that has from Uruguay. They built a robot, the platform with the laptop sits on top. I actually don't have it here. We have one.
There's a poster.
There's a poster of it right there, in fact. And so the laptop sits on top of the robot. You plug the robot into the laptop, and then the software on the laptop that controls it. The camera acts as a sensor and all kinds of things that can follow you. And so we've done experiments with that. A few years ago, I think about 3 years ago or so, one of our members came up with these. I'll pass this around, take a look. These are basically acrylic lenses, but they're not manufactured as lenses. They're manufactured as decorative elements for doorknobs and handles and whatnot. And so there's some company that makes them by the hundreds of thousands. And so after lots of experiments, he found out that there's a particular size that works really well. And so he came up with the whole idea that you would take this little acrylic lens and you would place it on top of the camera here, and you had a magnifier. And then suddenly you could do all kinds of interesting things with this. Somebody else came up with an idea where if you did not have this, you could still take, you would take a straw, you would dip it in water, and then use that straw to place a drop of water on top of that camera lens. This has got a plastic covering there. And if you were really still with it, that drop of water would form a lens, and you could use it as a magnifier, in a pitch. So these have been interesting projects. Then we started to look at different ways to make the lens project better. And so this design came out of one of those meetings. There's again a bunch of plastic here. But what happens is that this plastic glues onto, or actually slides onto the side of the laptop. And now you've got a little control mechanism that you can use for focusing. And that's because the lens on the laptop is fixed. And so this is made out of hanger wire and popsicle stick. And he promised that he washed it before he used it. And plastics, I'll pass this around as well, just to kind of give you an idea, which was that you basically come up with a focus thing made out of whatever you can find, right? Some kind of material. And then you would use this. And the magnification on this is actually quite interesting. There are lots of pictures we have online. So that was one. Inspired by that, one of our friends online came up with a 3D printed model of the same thing. But this uses it also has a popsicle stick and a hanger wire thing. But the rest of the body here is 3D printed. And so you can actually download that design, and if you have a 3D printer, you can print that. I'll pass these around as well, if you want to take a look. And then we can see how this works. So these are all, in so many ways, they're not really talking directly to the computer because they're just sitting on top of the lens. And so arguably they can be used with anything. It can be used on a phone, or a laptop like this, or any other tablet or laptop. It doesn't have to be the old PC, Excel laptop. Those are some interesting ways in which you can extend this. There's another project that was originally came out of being in France, OPC France. This is an aluminum block, a clamp. And then we got these made here. Alex found somebody who could machine these. This is a off-the-shelf. Well, it's not quite a, well, I guess it's in color as well. It's useful for mostly bird watching and stuff like that, but it's not super powerful, but it's not bad. And so this, again, the idea is the same, which is it clamps onto the camera side here. And it sits there, and then you would be able to then point it to something and be able to grab. So you have a telescope, you've got a microscope or a magnifier kind of thing. Anish actually wrote a sugar activity for this. So typically you would use a record program to just record the screen. But in this case, he wrote something called the telescope activity, which gives you a lot more control over the camera, like, you know, the brightness and gain and all those kinds of things. And if you were really good with it, you could actually place it online. Let me see if I can pull up something I did.
Someone did a whole curriculum about studying the moon and phases of the moon.
Right, so there's an activity for the moon that this can be used with. Let's see. I'll find, there we go. This is a YouTube video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, just maybe briefly to give you an idea. This was something I did with my kid. I'm not going to play here because we have the Hangout running as well. Yeah, so, okay, so maybe I should not do this, otherwise it'll crash. So in this particular case, what we did was well, let me go back. So I think my daughter was 7 at the time, and she said, we see the moon in the evening, but does it actually move? And so we did this experiment where we set this up with the telescope pointing to the moon, and then we essentially took snapshots every so often, and then after we got that whole thing, we put it together, and when you play it back, you actually do see the moon go across the screen, and it actually went and then set all the way down. And then, you know, after we saw the video, we got a little fancy with it, so I made a few slides back and forth. So on YouTube, you can find it under OLPC Fly Me to the Moon, because it's got a little Frank Sinatra in the background with Fly Me to the Moon. And so, you know, you can do a lot of interesting things with it. The telescope is actually quite nice. So it's magnifier. And then we had a visitor on campus earlier this year from Stanford University. This is somebody who's been working on a paper microscope called the Foldscope. And so there it is. And this is actually used in the field quite extensively. So this is not simply play, but going beyond that. And in this case, what they've done is, the principle is similar, which is there's a lens embedded in here in a piece of plastic. The rest of it all is paper. So all of this assembly here is paper. This little black thing in the middle has a tiny lens in it. It's incredibly tiny. And that gives you a very high level of magnification. And so with that, they're able to go into the field, pull samples from different places, put them in here, and view it, and the whole thing costs something between 50 cents to $1 to manufacture, right? So in fact, this program at Stanford gives these away. They had 50,000 of these, and they're going to do another cycle with about 1 million of these, and they'll just ship them away. They have different designs where this is the I think the sort of the classroom design, where you can use this for fun experiments, but they have ones where you can use it for looking at malaria samples and a whole bunch of other detailed things. They ship with this little interesting strip. It's a plastic strip with a couple of magnets. And the idea here is, in fact, the reason I have this camera running here is for this. There's a hole in the middle, and what they want you to do is take some tape. I'll take 2 pieces of tape here. Just put it on either side of the thing. And the idea is to place this on top of the camera so that the camera aligns with the hole over here, like such. So let's see. There we go. Right? So there we go. So the strip is right on top of there. And here's the microscope. Now, if you do not have a computer, you could still, this is a pre-made slide of some kind of a sample. You could still put this through here, and the way it works is there's only one lens in there. You hold it really close to your eye, and you go around, and you can actually, if there's enough ambient light, you can spot the sample. And that's pretty much it to be able to see what's on there. So let me find the sample. Takes a bit sometimes to go look for it. Oh, there we go. And so just in this kind of light or out in the sun, you can actually see this and then find it. And the the focus mechanism is simply flexing this, and by flexing the paper just moves up and down and you get enough. But now what I can do is, the two magnets here, the two magnets are there, and this clips, right? And let's turn this light off. And then we need a light source. So, I got an analog flashlight. Right? The idea is that it's too bright, in fact. So, there. And you can start to see the sample there. I may have to move it around a little bit.
That's a sample of some kind of pathogen or something?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, that part is just, I think it's just the light is too bright. Let me put it back a little bit and see.
What's it supposed to be?
It's some kind of a larva, I think.
A larva?
Yeah, but I'll be looking for it in the right place. Yeah, actually, if somebody can hold the light, then I can move this around. And you can do the same thing with a tablet or a phone, because it's just a plastic strip that needs to sit on the camera lens, and then you place tape on it. All right, so let's see if we can find this.
They used to have a PPA.
Should I light some more?
I'm not sure.
Let's hold the bowl for just a second.
It's almost like some kind of protozoa. That black thing? Well, the thing.
Oh, so I can take this off the thing, and you can actually just watch it. So, keep in mind, so this stream is going to that laptop and out, so it's not very clear. I think if you were looking at the laptop directly, it would be a lot more clear. The other advantage here is that when you have a phone or a tablet or XO or any other laptop, you can run a program on there that not only shows you what the camera sees, but actually records it, right? So you hit the video mode, and at that point, you can actually talk through it as you keep looking for the sample. You find different parts of it. So at one point, we had a sample. Yeah, I don't think it's over there. It's probably somewhere there. Right? It's somewhere in there. As you explore different parts of the sample, you would be able to talk through it, and then you would have a video that you can play back. And it works quite well on smartphones as well. So this is sort of an interesting outcrop of the project, that it's not directly related to either sugar or the XO or any of those things, but the fact that there is a computer and it's got these devices on it for sound and a light and those kinds of things, you can add these other things on top of it. Let me try one more time if I can find the. Can you shine the light on me? There it is. Okay. What I'll do is I will hold it. So. Now put it in there. You see something pink? Did it slip away again? It slipped away again.
I think that's going to be too bright.
Yeah, I think more than the light is the positioning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This way. All right. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lag, so by the time I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me try one more time to plot it. And I should put it down this way, so give me the light. How come we were?
We were, and actually disconnected.
Okay, the line on. There, I see something pink at the edge.
There's something pink in the end.
Ah, is it touchscreen or something?
No,
There's some pink.
move the light. Yeah, it's a lot better if you see it yourself instead of running it through the laptop. So I'll pass it around. You have to move it and see it. But again, this is one of those things where, and this is just one example. Let's turn the lights back on. If you'll pass it around. Try out. So we've had lots of interesting ideas. Some have panned out like this last thing, and this is quite easy to it's off the shelf. Once the Force go from Stanford, they start their production this year. I'm sure we'll be able to grab a bunch from them because they're willing to just disseminate these. They have a website where what they do is they allow people to submit samples. So when all these kids get these things around the world, they take pictures and then they can submit it back to their site. So they have hundreds of thousands of these things. You can pull that slide out if you want and actually see.
You pull it out, you said?
Yeah, pull the glass slide out and you'll see the sample. There.
I was looking at the hole. It's not gonna fit in a hole.
Yeah, it's very tiny, and that's why you have to really hold it close to your eye and then move it around. And it takes a little getting used to, for while you flex it, and then once you get it, it's actually pretty amazing how many things you can do with it. They also ship with I don't think I have it here. Basically, it's a paper slide. It's a paper slide with a slot in the middle. You put some Scotch tape, and then you stick on a sample and put another slice of tape. You have a slide. Stick it into this thing. You take your pictures. You pull it out. Remove the Scotch tape. Throw it away. Make another slide. So it's pretty fancy. So that, which is the microscope, this magnifier, the telescope, the robot. There are Arduino boards for building all kinds of other things. Audio stuff. Those of you who were at the party yesterday, you saw my reel-to-reel machine. I've tried to plug that into the measure activity to actually look at the frequency response of different machines I have to kind of see how high they will go and how low. And you get a fairly accurate, pattern in terms of what frequencies will play. So it's the same tape but different machines. So lots of ideas there, but again, we honestly, I think we've struggled with being able to then take this idea and take it to the field. I think the robot is by far the #1 project that's out there that's being used a lot because they made that whole kit available. And that said, it's still not very easy for us to get it. They have the designs and all that, but it's not something where you can just go on Amazon and say, hey, let's buy this thing.
Oh, you have to laser cut or
Right.
do other things.
Right. And they were nice enough in a sense that they shipped us a piece.
Yeah.
So then somebody has to take it on and actually replicate it. But again, it's not a kit that you can just buy online. From that point of view, the Lego kits are actually easier, but they're more expensive.
So these are the Lego Mindstorms.
Not the Mindstorm. There is another kit called the WeDo, which is a scaled down version of Mindstorm. So WeDo gives you a USB hub-like thing onto which you can connect. So the laptop talks to this hub, and then you've got these connectors which talk to motors and sensors. And you get about 3 or 4 sensors. The kit is $120 or so. And you can then connect it to the laptop and then do basically do computing both ways. So the sensor stuff will go back in, and then you can make a windmill that will spin faster if you clap. Okay, as the level of sound goes up, it starts to spin faster and that kind of stuff. So that's a good kit, but again, only if you can get your hands on. So that has been the challenge. How do you get these things to the field? When this came up, in fact, it was very interesting. I didn't think about this problem, but the guy who came up with this, he said, well, there has to be a disclaimer. You don't want little kids to handle this because somebody might, So all kinds of weird issues. But anyway, we have some of these. If you have projects you want to take these, please take these with you. We have, yes?
A couple of things.
Gustav Trinidad in Uruguay has written a book about doing physics with VXO,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
which
yeah.
is in Spanish.
Right.
But if we could find somebody who was willing to volunteer their time to convert it to English, it would be marvelous. I have actually the form of it, so.
Okay. Also, so somebody.
But there was some folks in Argentina that said they'd be happy to do it for $5,000, but I just didn't have to have that in my bill. So.
Okay. Maybe next time.
And Tony Forster has done a ton of things in that line of how can we do scientific level experiments with VXO.
Right.
It should be collected.
Right.
As well.
Right. So again, it's one of those things where, and I like these, especially the analog ones, which is they don't connect into the USB, because then it means that there is really no dependency on what kind of computer you have. As long as it has a camera, like this Microscopes thing, it can be an iPhone, an Android phone, it can be a laptop, it can be any of those things, and it just plugs in and it works. So these are some interesting things to think about as well, on top of all the educational stuff that comes with the laptop and the server and so on. Is how some of these things can get the curiosity going and get them to come up with experiments on their own.
It's really important because in Rwanda there is no hands-on science, none. It's all read the book and answer the questions at the end of the chapter. And that's sad, because I could imagine, for example, you send the kids out to take pictures of plants.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the Wikipedia and see if they can figure out which plant they've got to pick.
Yeah, right.
Because really science should begin right there at home. What's in the immediate neighborhood. Of course, the manufacturer has to do them and what's not immediately apparent to the naked eye.
Right.
There is an excellent sugar activity called star chart, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a planetarium. And so, in conjunction with the telescope, you could set the time of day and location, and it'll show you what the sky should look like.
Right.
And
Watch the planets.
really excellent.
When we went, so I went with my daughter on a little workshop that Microscopes had at Stanford, and the guy who runs this project, he gathered a whole bunch of people, something like 20 people, and what we did was we went off onto the Jasper Ridge preserve that they have right by their campus. And his whole thing was, well, first we build this thing so everybody sort of folded the whole thing, and then he was like, take it with you and go look for samples. And he would do things like, he spotted a log, so roll the log over, and then you see stuff below. And then we saw what looked like a little spider's, nest. And he took a paintbrush and sort of peeled it, and then you could see these tiny eggs. So they grabbed one of those, put it onto one of these slides onto tape, and stuck it in there and started to look, and you could actually see the embryo inside the egg sac, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, look, that's an embryo," but it had the wrong number of eyes for it to be a spider, right? And so that was a giveaway saying, well, it looks like a spider's nest, but it probably isn't. It's some other insect that also does something similar, because it doesn't have the number of eyes that we should be seeing on a spider's embryo. So, that kind of a thing. But again, you need a lot of encouragement. You need somebody to go with you, do those kinds of things. And of course, if you have a laptop or a phone or something, I found that feature to be very useful, which is you can record it, right? You can record the video session and speak through it as you're looking at different parts of that sample, and then replay it back, and you would have that available for somebody else to look at. So anyway, those are some of the things we had. This thing is not going to be very clear, but I don't know, was anybody able to see the sample? The little red thing in the middle?
Yeah.
You were able to see it? Through the, yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if that was working. Yeah, you can make sure that. Just going to see if I could maybe put it on another device. Well, let's try. We'll try the XO. See how it comes up. This is the touch version. I don't know if this is on. Yeah, this one's yours.
They were talking about taking the picture with the camera because the camera is here. Well, one thing was kind of funny. I thought the same thing. I'd start the kids out with the camera. oh, that's where I don't understand. Because they didn't understand that this was the camera, right? So you could hear it and the camera's not saying it. But finally got into this thing of how can we use the camera as a real camera when the camera's on the wrong side. And so he came up with a device, I think I still have one, that plugged into the, I think it was into one of the USB ports, and then you could kind of.
Yeah, I think we have one.
I came up with a simpler solution, which is you fire off the camera with this button. If you look through here, you're going to see pretty much what the camera sees. That's all we're going to be pretty close.
Let me see if I can get this guy to.
So it's really a viewfinder.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Yeah. We don't think it's a handle.
You got it?
So, it's not,
Yeah, that's great.
oh, you want
I will put it on the next one.
no, you're not.
Thing on the.
This is,
Oh, I grabbed one from down there that was confused. I thought that was mine. So,
oh, okay, this must be yours.
oh, if that was the one that you were turning off, then I grabbed the wrong one. Harvard.
Oh, I have no, so none of them know.
There was one you
Yeah,
plugged in
there
here,
was
and
one
I thought
here.
that was you. That one that you left.
Thank you very much for putting these.
Oh, mine didn't have a tag, so that must have been mine.
There it is. There we go. Now I see it. But we don't have this plugged into. We can all gather around. Huh?
Yeah, you can hold it up.
Yeah. So you can actually, where to go? There it is. Do you see the eye of the thing? Yeah. It needs more light there. Okay, so let's keep it there. Here's the flashlight gun.
It's on the table.
You see the thing over there? So put some, there we go. Can you see though?
I think you have to switch off the line.
Here we go.
There you can see the eye of the thing. Whatever that little dot is over there.
The artificial light that is too focused that creates a lot of glare.
Yeah. And then you can actually focus this a little bit. There.
Yeah, so we can see the eye.
It's going to be a lot harder on the Hangout because there are too many things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely see it over here. And then if I don't pass it around. It's moving now.
Uh-oh.
Should stop this one.
I think it fell down.